Hi everybody, and welcome back to my channel Experiences with R. McKin, where I share my experiences with you guys. Alright, so today I wanted to talk to you guys about investing in a military town, and also just kind of share how I got my first few investment properties. Okay, well, I don't really have those original ones anymore. I'm kind of transitioning into a new type of thing. But again, I just wanted to kind of talk to you guys about investing in a military town, and pretty much maybe hopefully I can help somebody out that's considering some other types of venues to put their money in. All right, so first of all, I just want to clearly say that investing in a military town, it could possibly be just like investing in anywhere else. Now, anything I say may not really relate to any other military town. I've been here for half of my life, so I can probably mostly comment just on this one area, which is Killeen, Texas. All right, and by the way, we're located. We say it's among the biggest of bases, which is like Fort Hood. So yeah, a lot of military here, so we call this a military town. All right, so just in case you happen to be out there and you are looking to invest in this area, again, I'm just gonna comment about it. So should you consider investing in a military town? Well, if it's this military town, my answer to you is going to be why not? It's not a bad idea at all. Matter of fact, I have just sold, and I'm in the process of getting another property, and I'm gonna straight up tell you that it's almost like a competition out here to buy multi-family properties. That is not so much the houses. I mean, they're building like crazy out here, and you're probably just thinking like, well, why are they building all these houses? It's just a little town. But surprisingly, hey, people are buying them up. All right, so I mean, I just bought my house right here, and the street was probably like half empty like 6 months ago. I think I was like the third house. If I was to walk you guys out there right now, you would see like a bunch of houses. Like it's just getting built up so fast. But anyway, so without further ado, first I'm gonna tell you how I started out with real estate investing. um and just again, I'll be clear, I'm not like doing that like full time or nothing, but it's been something that I have done, and something that I'm trying to get back into in the next few months to come here. All right, so I've been here about half of my life, which is about 18 years, and I was in the military on active duty, and that's honestly when I got the like all the properties I had in the past. Okay, so my first property was a foreclosed property. I remember back then, I think I bought that one about 13, 14 years ago. I was just really trying to, I was a young soldier just trying to like get my hands in the investment building wealth type of thing. Too bad I didn't keep up with it. I would have probably been rich by now or wealthy by now. Anyway, so I wanted to find something that I could afford, and that was, just pretty much budget friendly. And I found a foreclosed duplex in a nearby city called Copperas Cove. It's not that far. It's about 10 to 15 minutes drive from Killeen. And bought this property at the time. I got it for $55,000. That was financed, by the way. Of course, I didn't have $55,000, but yeah. So I got a conventional loan, and I also lived in one side of that property and rented out the other side. Now, when I purchased it, that was it was a fixer upper. To be honest, I think I probably put in about $10,000 into that property. I had to change the roof. I had to change like the carpeting on the inside, paint, like everything. um Not everything. It was, don't get me wrong, it was livable, but it was just like an older place, and that just not, I didn't want to be living in an older place. I wanted to look more, a little bit more up to date. I also had to put up like a retaining wall to get the insurance on it. I was super excited about this property, y'all, and I think by the time I did all the repairs and everything, I was just like, I'm never gonna do this again. Anyway, so yeah, that was that, and I owned that for about 10 years. I think I sold it, not I think, I sold it in 2015, maybe 16 if I'm not lying. Yeah, right around there. So yeah, I owned it for about 10 years. Now, what was my experience owning that specific property? It wasn't like really hard to get renters. Like I said, I lived in one side first, but I only spent about 6 months there. Didn't really like living there. So I moved away and got me another place. So that one apartment, like my side that I lived in, it was always hard to keep people in there. For some reason or the other, they just kind of get in and spend like a month, 2 3 months, and then they'd be gone. Now the other side, which it actually had burnt down in the process of me owning it, and it was, you know, refurbished. And with doing that, it looked really nice. I was able to keep I had one specific lady that spent probably the majority of the time living there, and that was good. I think I collected like back then about 485 in rents for both sides. 485 for the refurbished side, and then the other side was like 450 whenever I would have renters there. So that was pretty much that property there. So overall, I would say it wasn't really hard finding renters. I will say, with, if you are considering renting, buying properties in a military town, and I would say try to get a property manager, and try to get it like from the beginning if that's the road that you want to go down. And the reason I say that is just simply because it's gonna save you a lot of headaches. I don't think the 10% is worth the headaches, unless you are maybe your own, like you're already a property manager, or you just absolutely have to do it yourself. I was that type of person that I wanted to save as much money as I could save, and I was gonna do everything on my own. And it just doesn't work, you know. Not, it doesn't always play out the right way, because people, especially if you're like a nice person, people tend to play on that. And I had a lot of that. Tenants would just kind of not pay me. They'd pay the first 2 or 3 months, and then they wouldn't pay after that, you know. So that was that. But it's not everybody's story. But becoming a landlord, that's just one of the things that you have to be ready to deal with. And of course, find you a good property manager. I've had my share of good and bad ones. So, you know, and once they start messing you over, you know, just don't keep them. Just move on to the next property manager. You know, make sure that you are, when you this is not a video about property managers, but it's something I had to have to deal with. So when you do pick them, just make sure you read the fine lines, ask all the questions, because sometimes they come in with these like extra fees, and you're like, what's this for? Or so you want a property manager that's going to be honest, and that you don't even remember that your property is there. I've had like one property management company like that. All right, so that was the first property. So overall, it wasn't bad. It wasn't really hard getting renters, but it did come with some issues. Oh, so what kind of people rented from me? Believe it or not, I have not had a lot of experience renting to soldiers, even though this is a military town. Surprisingly, most of the people that have rented, like in that specific unit, they were mostly just civilians, people that just work regular jobs trying to make it. So I had one soldier, I think, that lived there, and I think he ended up deploying. I don't think he even really wanted to be there, so he ended up just coming up with some kind of excuse and he moved on out. So again, it surprisingly, you may think that it's soldiers, but not really. It's like regular civilians a lot of times that's renting these apartments for different reasons or the other. So at that one, like I said, mostly civilians. All right, so moving on to my second property. I think I got that one in Killeen. I paid back then, I paid about 70, I think it was either 71,000 or 79,000. And that one was a purchase as a investment property. So back then we we only were required to put down like 10%. So I think what I did back then, I took the like a cash advance off of my credit card and finance that property right there to get the down payment. Yeah. So that was a older property, a little bit older. The first one I had was built in 1983. The second one I think was built in 1979. Okay, and when I bought that one, it's more, believe it or not, of all the properties I have or had, I think this is the one I wish I still had. But it was in a established neighborhood, or older neighborhood rather, and just a more established neighborhood, and that was one of the things that I liked about it. And I had two tenants in it when I bought it, so I didn't have to find renters for this property. Now, both renters were civilians. One was an older lady, she was on Section 8, and the other guy was an older guy too, and he worked, so they were there for a long time already. I think the main thing you'll find with those kind of tenants is that Section 8, sometimes I would say they can be a little bit more, maybe not demanding, but just they just tend to want things done a little bit more aggressively than somebody that's not on Section 8. I don't mean to sound like, I hope I don't offend anybody, but that's just my own thoughts and based on dealing with those types of tenants. But again, I had tenants there all the time, and even when they moved out, it still wasn't hard finding tenants to move into that property. But again, my downfall has always just been I'm doing this myself, and I'm soft-hearted, so people tend to just take that and run with it and not pay the rents on time and stuff like that. So I actually ended up, that one it was foreclosed on me, and maybe I'll make another video about that down the road and share with you guys about my foreclosure experience, or why I went into foreclosure. I'm not proud to say it, but yeah. So that was that. It was foreclosed. And by the way, it's the first property which I sold. I sold it also for financial reasons, and I didn't really make any money off of it. I mean, I think I sold it for 65, 10 years after the fact, 65,000, 10 years after the fact. And I mean, I think I walked away with like $12,000, which assisted me to pay off some debts, which was one of the reasons I really sold it, besides it just being a headache after a while. I don't think I really gained anything out of that, but it was a good experience, a great teaching experience, that now when I'm going to get my future properties, I have a better idea on what I'm doing and what I want to do. All right, so my third property was a more updated property. I think it was built in '03. I accumulated that in '07, and I lived there house hacked for over 10 years. That was not my goal, y'all. I swear I was just gonna be in and out of those properties, but life sometimes just doesn't play out the way we plan it. All right. Just doesn't work that way sometimes, no matter how much you plan. So yeah, I ended up living there for 10 years, and my experience there, I had different experiences. I had so I wanted to be the landlord that lived next door and collect rent to save money again, and it made, I can't speak for everybody, but it never worked for me. It never worked for me. Every single time I had tenants in there and I was managing, they just always, they'd pay the first 2 or 3 months, and then after that it was like, okay, they're not paying anymore. So I finally gave that property over to a property manager. I would say probably within the last 4 or 5 years, I've had a property manager for that property, and it's just been a lot better with those. Now that property, I think when I bought it, that one was about either 139 or 149. And guys, my real estate agent said to me, Rochelle, you're never gonna see properties that low again, so you should just hold on to it. And I would probably say I should have taken her advice, but I think somewhere in my head I have a plan for selling this house. I have a better plan somewhere in my head. I have a plan. Okay, so anyways, but I just sold that property, and yeah, again, somewhere in my head I have a financial plan for those funds. Now again, I've owned this duplex for over 10 years now. It was in a neighborhood that I didn't really care for. I didn't really think was specifically safe to be in, especially as me being a single business owner. um, yeah, I haven't had like a lot of incidents there, but just maybe one or two. One break-in and one where I had like some guy was knocking on my door or something. And anyways, I'm not gonna go into that, but it was just a little scary moment. So I just kind of felt like, my friends even like, Rochelle, you need to get on out of there and get you in a nice neighborhood. And I listened after, a good while after that. And there's other reasons too, which again I'll probably put in another video. But anyways, so that property has been sold. What kind of tenants have lived there on that one? I've had military, I've had civilians. Now again, here we go again. The civilians were the ones that actually, I would probably say, have been there the most, have lived there the most, the longest. The last tenant, which she's still there, she's been there now for 3 years, I think. And then the unit that I moved out of, I think that, and both of them are actually Section 8. And I think that also contributes to how long somebody stays somewhere, because once they get in and they're comfortable and the rent is affordable, you're probably gonna likely have tenants that's gonna stay longer. So I would say, if you are gonna buy property here in like a military town like this one, Killeen, I would say, don't focus too much about where the property is located. Now don't get me wrong, like there's some places I don't really care to buy properties here in this city, but like people live everywhere in this city, no matter where. If you go to the ghetto, or you go to the kind of ghetto or the upper scale, but you, either ways you go, people will rent. Okay, but of course, if you want like certain types of tenants, you need to be buying your multi-family properties or your single family homes in like better neighborhoods or such for it. But the guy that bought my last property duplex, he never even saw the house. I don't even know who does that, but I guess people do that. they do that. I'm just a hands-on person. I gotta see. I guess I gotta see. Well, not really, but anyways, so that spells that. So that's how and I bought that, my last property. I bought that with a VA loan, so 0% down. All right, now I'm just gonna say quickly why I think that it's a good idea to invest in a military town. I mean, I've shared with you that people do rent, so it's not like your property. I'm not saying that it's gonna get rented, but I never, they get rented, guys. 2-3 months, maybe the most. I don't think I've ever passed a month or 2 months where I didn't have a tenant if I was actively seeking tenants, whether I was doing it myself or whether I had a property management company. Okay, so I think a military town is good because, such as this one, Killeen, it's a lower cost of living, and I think that's attracting not only soldiers but people that's also migrating into this area because of the lower cost of living. I mean, you could sell a house in Florida and cash in and come here and buy a house cash if you have that much equity in your home. Or yeah, if you, pretty much, you could come in and buy you a house cash here and just probably put your feet up or something. Not really, but if you want to stay active. But anyway, so yeah, so it's a low cost area and a lot of people are migrating here. And also a lot of soldiers, when they get out the military, they are staying in Killeen for various reasons. Some people just want to go to school. Now, don't get me wrong, they may not stay here forever, but they eventually, they're just here to get whatever benefits they can get, and then sometimes they move on. And also Texas, like where we are, is very like vet friendly. Everything is kind of just here. We got the hospital, the VA hospital, we got this, we got that. So we have everything to our comfort, so we're spoiled, I guess. But anyways, yeah, why not be spoiled? But really though, it's a low cost of living and it attracts people to stay here, whether they're staying permanently or temporarily, and that creates a need for more housing, because they're not gonna live on the base. Not everybody can live on the base, or not every soldier is gonna stay on the base if they get out or whatever. Also, it's a great retirement area. A lot of people are retiring here. They're building their dream homes after they get out the military and enjoying the good life. The good life is the God life, but it's the good life. They're enjoying the good life. Yeah, so that is those are some factors to consider. And of course, there's people that's been here all their life and they're just not going anywhere. So they're renters too. They're homeowners. And lastly, pretty much, it's an area that a lot of times we get like temporary workers for different jobs. So that could also be another reason, maybe if you're looking into short-term rentals or something like that, Airbnb, whatever. It's a good area for that. So to answer your question, should you consider investing in a military town? Why not? It's a subjective answer, but again, I would definitely say go for it and just give it a shot. Alright, so again, thanks for watching my video. Y'all have yourselves a great blessed day. Alright, take care.